Okay, it's 7 o'clock and we definitely have a quorum present or online. First, item of business, I think I'd like, everyone to introduce themselves. We have a new member, John Keogh, who's representing the, Historical Commission. And John, if you want to say a few words and then we'll go around and introduce ourselves.
I hadn't prepared anything. Yeah, my name's John Keogh. I've lived in Upton for the last 3 years and just always had a general interest in history, and I wanted to kind of just get involved how I could. And then this got recommended to me, so. All right.
Welcome to the committee.
John, are you the new rep for the Historic Commission, or are you a citizen appointee?
It's the Historical Commission.
Okay,
He's gonna take my place.
okay. No one can take your place.
Yeah, so for in the room anyway, so I'm Rick Porter, I'm part of the Recreation Commission and the appointee from that team on CPC.
I'm Mike Penko. I'm representative from the Open Space Committee, also on the Conservation Commission.
Mike Antonellis, town planner.
I'm Dennis Westgate. I'm the Director of Public Works
And acting town manager.
and interim town manager. It's an all-around nice guy.
That's
Here.
online, Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm the assistant planner. I'm just taking meeting minutes.
Chris.
Hi, Chris
Work
Mena.
Hi there, my name's
Sorry,
Jessica,
Chris.
and I'm part of the Conservation Commission. So welcome.
Catherine.
I am Kathy Robertson. I'm the mouthy one. And I am the representative from the planning board.
Brian.
Everyone, I'm Brian Gallagher. I am on the Affordable Housing Trust, and I'm representing that group, I believe. Mike, is that right? I know there was a recent change. I keep getting, I'm not sure if I'm the selectman designee or.
You're either a selectman's appointment or.
I'm fairly positive you're the Affordable Housing Trust designate.
Right. That's what I thought, but originally came on as the selectman designate.
Yes.
So we have, and then Chris.
Hi, Chris Mena. I'm one of the recent appointees from the Board of Selectmen. This is my second meeting on the committee. I've lived in Upton for almost 3 years now and still learning a lot about the projects and the procedures of this committee.
Thanks. So there are 8 members right now. We have 1 open. For anyone who know anyone who is becoming a member, that 1 opening is a select board appointees. Okay, thank you, everybody. So next item is proof previous minutes, and Lauren has sent around minutes from September 3rd and August 6th. Is there any comments on those minutes?
I have done.
It's all right.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the August 6th and September 3rd meeting minutes as written.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, voice so raise your hand.
Aye.
Right.
Mr. Penko, Mr. Chairman, if I may, not second my nose in here. If everybody's not in the room, it requires a roll call vote.
So roll call vote.
Ask Mr. Mantonelli, so that.
Thank you, Paul. All right, roll call vote. Chris Scott. Catherine Roberts,
Aye.
Brian Gallagher,
Aye.
Chris Mayhew,
Aye.
Let's see who's here.
Aye.
John. Rick
Reporter, aye.
and Mike, aye. That's unanimous vote of the members present. Okay, next, any vouchers, I believe may be a voucher, Lauren, correct?
I don't believe there are any vouchers for this month.
It was a TRC bill that came in.
I think that was last month. I'm pretty sure we're all caught up.
Okay, all right, we'll check that. Okay. Okay, next is agenda. First thing I'd like to do is suspend the regular meeting. We'll move on to some public hearings. We have 5 public hearings scheduled. They were all posted in the Worcester paper. First hearing is scheduled for 7:05. It is 7:06. So I'm going to read the public hearing notice for this hearing. And then this one is for the first one's for the First Cemetery. So let's go for all these. I'll ask someone who's representing or is proposing these projects to briefly speak about their projects. And then the committee will have a chance to ask questions, and then anyone in the room will have a chance to ask questions or online. Okay, so notice here been given, the Upton Community Preservation Committee will hold 5 public hearings on Wednesday, October 1st, 2025 to consider the following requests for funding from Community Preservation Act revenues. I'll just read the first one for now. 7:05, $125,000 from CPA Historic Resources account for the renovation of the grounds of First Cemetery, as well as improvements and replacements required of its headstones and footstones. Ed, your project, could you please, I know you've presented this before to the committee, but we do have a couple of new members, and also there's potentially some members of the public who might have questions. Fine. So please.
Yeah. Hi, Ed Phillips, representative of the Historical Commission. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully shorten it from previous presentation. All right, so the overall gist is about 4 years ago, as a member of the Cemetery Commission, we engaged with a local landscaper to clear the lower half of First Cemetery. The view that you have right now is completely overgrown with brush trees, couldn't be seen. So that was cleared about 4 years ago. Since then, our wonderful Department of Public Works has done a diligent job to keep it cleared and open, so it's viewable by the public. Picture coming into view right now is the upper cemetery, which has been maintained for many years, where probably 80% of the headstones are. But the lower cemetery is where it all began. All of the early burials are in this portion of the cemetery, going all the way down to the corner tree lines that are barely visible in the view. So what we've done starting about a year ago is we have documented all of the stones in the cemetery. There's approximately 130 headstones, of which a couple are broken and with no idea who's buried there, but the other 127 or 28, there's a list scrolling here that identifies all the individuals in the cemetery. We engaged with the local surveying company, Gary Aaron Howland, out of Milford, back in January, and they did an engineering survey of the entire cemetery, including every headstone, every footstone, and every fieldstone appearing to be a burial, which was numerous. All of that has been documented. We have begun a history of the cemetery from all reports could be located at the Historical Society, of which there was 3 or 4 done over the last 100 years, bits and pieces. So we've woven that together into a comprehensive report on the history of the cemetery. This is where it all began. This is where the first meeting house was located. This is where the first families who actually created this town were buried, most of them. So here is the engineering survey. Of course, it's been printed on much larger paper, but this gives you an idea. Every dot on there is either a headstone or footstone. They are all labeled, numbered, and there is a chart embedded at the lower right, that large 4-inch by 4-inch block that lists by number all of the individuals buried. So you can find some on the chart and then figure out where they're buried and go visit their grave. This is planned to be imprinted on a large 4-foot by 8-foot signboard that will be installed inside the entrance to the cemetery, hopefully sometime next year for visitors. Just for reference, here is one of the maps that was done, I believe, in 1965 by an individual named H. Daniel Fay, who lived in town here, did a lot of work in the cemetery trying to document it and restore it at that time. But it's fallen under, I believe, vandalism and the wear and tear of years and possibly trees that have knocked stones over. So we have various stones that we are engaged on replacing, having them recarved as close to the original as possible without spending a lot of money doing it. So they will all be identified as replica stones. So it's obvious it's not an original stone. There are some in here. This is the entire cemetery. So there are some in here that are stones like this one here. Thomas Webster. And again, this book that I'm showing here has been created, it gives a one generation genealogy of every individual. So when they were born, where they were born, who their parents were, who their spouse was, and if they had service in the Revolutionary War. This particular individual served not only in the French and Indian War before the Revolution, he also served in the Revolution. So there's 22 burials in this cemetery of Revolutionary War soldiers, and quite a few of them are stones that are broken and heavily damaged. So here's two pieces of stone. The top piece we are uncertain belongs to this individual. The bottom piece does belong, and all it contains is his year of death and his age at death, which was the only thing we used to identify whose stone it was. So this stone we would anticipate being recarved and replaced. And there are 20 stones that are on the list right now. About 5 or 6 of them are footstones, smaller stones, and 12 or 13 or 14, I don't remember the exact count, are headstones that we look forward to having recarved and replace the stones that are in the cemetery to bring it back to as close to full restitution as is possible without replacing many of the other stones. There are many stones damaged. We put them back in the ground. They're rebuilt, even though there's bits of them missing. In order to keep the cost of this project to as reasonable as possible, we only going to replace those stones that are significantly damaged and can't be restood. Additionally, we look at the removal of 1,800-foot pine trees that are encroaching on the burial locations. There's probably, just a guess, I haven't counted, there's probably 35 pine trees remaining in the cemetery, of which half are either in graves, next to graves, and are potentially risking some of the 250, 300-year-old stones for the future that we would look forward to having removed. We would then have the tree company remove the stumps, and we would look for local people, local landscapers at a low cost to go in and try and grade where the stumps were, fill potholes throughout the cemetery so that it's not a hazard to people visiting. And hopefully, but we don't have an actual plan yet of putting in a walking path of some nature, either tree grindings, which are available from the DPW for free and are natural substance, would degrade, stone dust, gravel, something. So a plan still needs to evolve on that. Installing a sign and installing an actual gate, which the cemetery has never had a gate, to better protect the influx of individuals or anybody trying to back a car or a truck into the cemetery. So that's the general overview. We have quotes for the tree removal. We have quotes for the sign. We have quotes for the gate. We also look at potentially planting 4 to 8 flowering trees of some fashion to in some way replace the pines that are being taken down, but to bring a little more color and natural beauty to this old cemetery. So that's about the scope of it. We have already repaired 10 to 11 heavily damaged stones that I didn't think were repairable. Those are now standing again in the cemetery. We're working on a couple more. So we have reduced the original list we had back in June from about 26 stones, I believe, down to 20 by repairing them using some local expertise we found in Bellingham, a nonprofit organization. So that's where we're at.
And thank you, Ed. Are there any questions from the committee?
No, just consistent with
Okay, there's Brian Gallagher.
Quick question, out of curiosity, where is this cemetery?
It is located approximately at the intersection of Grove Street. If you know where Grove Street is, Grove Street's the street that leads out of the center of town south.
Yes, yep.
It intersects with Mendon Street. Immediately before that intersection, at the end of Grove Street, is a gravel road on the left with a big sign that says Friendly Fire Paintball Field.
Okay,
About 200 or 300 feet into the woods. It used to be Old Marlboro Way. I think it's been called Milford Street. It's been called all kinds of things, but it leads up to where the old meeting house was and where the cemetery is. It's directly behind Mr. Richardson's house on Grove Street. That's the contemporary architect's house on Grove Street, directly behind his house.
thank you.
Did you have?
No, I was just gonna say, so the presentation just seemed consistent with what we had heard in June. With the updated piece that some of those stones had been repaired. So the numbers are down a little bit, so.
Yeah, good. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close this hearing.
Make a motion to close the renovation piece for First Cemetery.
There's
I said that.
seconded by Christine Scott. A roll call vote. Let's see, Chris Scott,
Aye.
Catherine Robertson,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
John. Mike, I think that's everybody. And Rick, sorry, and Rick.
No worries.
Okay, so, great, so that's, thank you, everybody. Okay, we're on schedule for the next hearing.
Mike, can I just ask a quick question? Weren't we supposed to open it up for public, see if the public had any comments before we close the hearing?
I did. So,
Okay.
sorry, me. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
okay.
but.
I didn't hear that part, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did ask, but if I forget to do that, remind me.
Oh, I will.
All right. Okay, the next up is 720, $17,000 from the CPA Open Space and Recreation Account for upgrades to an existing 90-foot long trail bridge over Warren Brook at the Howard Glen Conservation Area. And I'll present this one. Lauren, are you there? Or Mike, can one of you pull up the application?
I can if needed, but it's easier to do it in person, then that makes sense too.
Lauren, is it under the fund request folder?
Yeah, it should be, or under warrant articles, but I have it here. I can share it. And try. Let me see if this works. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Awesome.
Here's the- Okay,
One way.
there is an application. Excuse me. Photographs here. Okay, Lauren, that's the proposed warrant article. Could you read the warrant article, please? I'm having a little trouble with the size of the print on the screen.
Yeah.
Or I can, okay, to see if the town vote to appropriate the sum of it should, we're gonna ask for $17,000. Or the other amount for the community preservation, from the community preservation reserve open space and recreation account to the Land Stewardship Committee to repair a trail bridge at the Howard Flint Conservation Area or take any action there in or there too. The project will be completed within 2 years. So, Mike or Lauren, do you have the application?
So I'm looking for.
Yeah. Let me look for it too. Sorry, I didn't save that on my desktop.
While Lauren's looking for this, Mike, where is this?
It's located off North Street, near where the pump station is on North Street.
Okay.
It was open space. It was part of the Glen Echo subdivision.
Okay. I was going to say, so it's near the Mechanic Street intersection.
Yeah, it's a little, it's half miles off the road from Mechanic. Russ.
Only you and I, that name, ain't you damn fake. What? You and I, the Netflix in the room. Hey, James Bay. Yeah. Dan Bay. Yeah. You and I are the only one who knew Dan Bay. Here. Yeah, we are. No, school bus. Yeah, no. Look right here, it was a house. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right, thank you, Lauren. Okay, you can scroll through the application pages, please.
It's. Oop. Did I lose it? Hold on, my computer is taking a while to react to things, so I'll try to share again. And then, there we go. Oh.
Lauren, can you email it to Mike?
Yeah, I can. Hopefully this works.
All right, we can see it now. Scroll.
Here we go.
So we get to the photos.
Yes, yeah, they're almost there. Well, you can skip the project description.
It's on page 8.
Shoot, I don't know why it keeps stopping. Share. Is this good or should I keep scrolling?
Okay, next page.
Sorry.
All right, so here's a photograph of the bridge. It was taken in 2014. The bridge over Warren Brook, it was a Boy Scout project. Actually, it was a dual Boy Scout project. 2 Eagle Scouts worked on this in 2010. Next, please. Close-up taken 2014. It was very well constructed. Sonotubes are the footings. The stringers are in very good shape. Keep going. Next, please. Okay, here's a shot of the decking. It's a pressure-treated wood decking. The decking itself is in fairly poor condition. We recently posted it so that it's no longer safe for horses, for equestrians. The original bridge was funded in part by Bay State Trail Riders. So there is, interest in horses being able to use this structure, but it's no longer safe. If you could go to the next photo, please. This is a close-up of the decking. Again, the decking is 15 years old now. Pressure-treated wood just isn't what it used to be be honest. If you look at pressure-treated wood these days, the rings are wide. This is pine that's grown in plantation very quickly, and it just doesn't last. So that's the problem that we have. Next, please. Okay, this shows the currently what the superstructure looks like, or the stringers. There's a fall of about 6 feet at the brook that is unprotected. The original design did not have any fall protection, which is something that's worried land stewardship for a while. And the maximum drop is about 6 feet, and most of the rest of it is 2 to 3 feet. So our proposal will include putting some railings up for fall protection. Next, please. Okay, now I want to explain what we're proposing to do. This is another boardwalk. It was at the Warren Brook Conservation Area, not too far away. It also had a situation where the decking was badly deteriorated, not safe for next, please. This is before the work was done. Next, please. Okay, and this is what we're proposing to do. We're proposing to cover the existing decking with fiberglass reinforced panels, and then add a guardrail. This is more of a, not the kind of guardrail would be added, but in this case we didn't need a high guardrail. So the first thing to do is put down the panels. Those panels are heavy, very heavy duty. They're said to last for decades. Next, please. Here's the crew. This is the volunteer crew putting down a geotextile fabric on top of the panels. And next, please. And then the final aspect of this is to put down some pea gravel on top of the geotextile that provides a fairly slip-free footing. One of the problems with, even if the pressure-treated boardwalk was safe in terms of being able to handle the weight of horses, they're often slippery. They're even slippery for foot traffic. So what's done here is you put the pea gravel down. That gravel will, periodically need to be refreshed, but it provides a much safer surface. So next, please. Just want to show you the location. Catherine asked about locations. This is the pink circle is the location. It's at the Haworth Glen Conservation Area. Access it off North Street. There's a parking area at the pump station, and I hope that's how you can park there. But it is used by the public. There's a kiosk there. Leads to the Warren Brook Conservation Area. Next, please. Be the last one. Here's just another picture showing the location of the o'clock. So I'll entertain any questions about this post.
And what's the, oh, sorry.
Catherine.
No, that's okay. You go first.
So this is Rick, just gonna ask, so based on the other work one that was done, what's the longevity plan and how much longer do we think that that's gonna last over, the pressure treater?
Well, the vendor, say Bob Hatch has been doing this decades.
Okay.
We don't have an exact. These are fairly new. I think he's been in various towns.
Okay.
But there's no reason to think that the fiberglass panel will last decades.
Yeah, sure.
The thing that will need to be replaced at some point would be that the geotech stuff fabric and the piece stone gravel. But I suppose even if that's every 5-10 years, it's still be an easier task than replacing the pressure treated decking 10-15 years.
Sure, but, and I guess in the back of my mind, if we're putting that down on weathered pressure treated wood to start with, is that something that's just gonna fall through at some point soon?
That's a good question. We've asked that of Bob Hatch. Bob Hatch is an engineer, and he feels that it is not necessary to remove the pressure treated decking. That it'll take a long time to decompose, and it won't decompose in such a way that it will be like divots.
Okay.
These panels, they're about an inch or inch and a half thick, heavy. It takes two people to carry in each panel. They can support the load without any other support.
Okay.
So that's been his recommendations is to not rip up the old decking. Okay, we've taken that. And if that ever got to the point where the stringers fail, footings fail, the deckings fail, you could basically pull those panels up and use them.
Okay.
Catherine.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is it, you said that the equestrian group gave some money or some support during the Scout project. Is there any likelihood that either the trail bike people or the equestrian group might be forthcoming with any funding to help this out?
This whole project kind of came up quickly, so we haven't had time to ask them yet, but we will. We're going to look for both volunteers and see if they could provide any funding. Right now, we're assuming 22,000, which is a little more than Bob's cost, which was 20,500. And also the Conservation Commission is willing to put at least $5,000. So that's what is 17. But it could go down if we do get some support from the Bay State other groups.
So the total project cost is 22,000, but if anyone else steps to the plate from the CPC, but if anyone else steps to the plate, it will be less than that?
Oh, yeah, we're asking 17 from the CPC.
Okay.
Commission is putting in, but it could be less than that. It would be less than 17 if we obtain any other funding.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close this.
Open to.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Anyone else down on the committee who has any wants to question? Thank you.
Yep.
All right, hearing none, motion to close this hearing.
Yep, I make a motion to close the hearing for the trail bridge.
Second.
Second.
Second by Chris Scott. Roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and Mike, aye. Okay, that hearing's closed. Okay, right on time, 7:35. Now, okay, the third one that we're having today is reads as follows: a maximum of $400,000 from the CPA undesignated account for the restoration of headstones and foundations in Lakeview, Maplewood, and Pine Grove cemeteries. There's someone here to present this one. Someone from the Cemetery Commission. Ed Fowler, are you on?
Just the 508-244 number that, you know, maybe that person's been on and it's just been on a different page and we didn't notice.
That number is me, Lori Woden. I'm just listening in on the meeting. I'm not any of the people you're looking for.
Thank you, Lori. All right.
I'm here for something later.
Well, it's unfortunate there's no one from that committee on here. Mike, do we have anything, or Lauren, that we can share? I believe they did put it in an application, and they've discussed this with us previously, but not with all current members of the CPC committee.
I have the request for quotation I can share, if that helps.
Good.
Mike, do we have the presentation from the last CPC meeting where they presented?
We're looking for something.
Okay.
Yeah. We're looking for something that we can present.
I'm trying to open the file now. It might take a second. I think it's a large document.
While she's opening that, I have a question, Mike. Mr. Chairman. My understanding is the Cemetery Commission has a sizable perpetual care fund for the purpose of perpetual care. Why would they approach the CPC for funding and not be told they have their own funds to do perpetual care?
That's a good question. They never mentioned that to the existence of that fund.
I don't remember.
I have a well into the middle six-figure fund that was put there 100 and something years ago for perpetual care. It was actually used for the clearing of First Cemetery 4 years ago.
Really?
And with no plan, no quotes, no volunteers, it seemed to me it's premature to consider a request. They have their own funds and they have no plan. The restoration of some of the damaged stones would be highly desirable.
Well, I recall, I had a question myself was, we were given cost of $200,000 to $400,000, and that seemed to be not tight enough for me personally. That's one question I was going to ask is to plan that down. It's a large amount of money too. So,
I mean, certainly Bradish Cemetery and Pine Grove Cemetery would potentially qualify as historical preservation. But Lakeview, I would question whether that is nothing more than perpetual care or maintenance. And that's what they identified the bulk of the repairs are needed.
thank you. Well, let's Do you have anything?
Yeah, I got it. This is their like entire document that they had gone through us at some point. 95 pages worth of identifying what needs repair and what doesn't, I suppose.
It was a pretty thorough
Yeah,
application.
it's, I mean, I don't think we're gonna go through the whole 95 pages of it. But this is what was submitted. I was struggling to find an actual application that they submitted. I'm not sure that they did. I think they might have just submitted this as their application.
In their defense, the application form is kind of new.
Yes.
I'll give them a pass on that. But going forward.
I don't know where the meat of the information is on this.
That's gonna
Yeah.
be cost related perhaps. So it was a fairly thorough, if I remember, thorough application in terms of inventory of what they're proposing to do with test.
Yeah, it's like every, as you can see.
Yep.
So there's quotes somewhere in the document. Maps of all the lots, right, showing where people are buried and then showing the condition of the headstones. What's this? All right. This is just totals of, this isn't cost, obviously, this is totals of like items that need to be addressed is my assumption of what this.
Yes.
Putting.
Probably had some cost. It's
That's it, that's the end of the document.
Okay.
So
okay.
it was an inventory, then they totaled the inventory, and then just a little bit of verbiage down at the end.
Any comments on this from the committee? Okay, I'm gonna make one that may not be very popular with the cemetery commission, but given the information we were just given from Ed, that there is a fund that you're maybe about, since at least before us, we don't have any really anything about the $200,000 to $400,000 cost estimate that was provided earlier. We simply to support this. But however, anyone else feels from the committee, if you, the other thing we could do is we could take comments from the audience, and then we could just close this hearing and then discuss, vote on it later. We're going to be voting on each one of these later in the meeting, so we could just postpone that. But is there anything else anyone has to say about this proposal at the moment? Anyone from the committee or from the audience?
I do, Mr. Chairman. So I noticed in the document, my misspelled name in there. I did not write this, but I have a little background on it. I know at the time that Glenn was putting this together with the commission, he was looking for guidance from the town manager. So I believe Joe Layton provided him guidance and assisted him with putting that document together and suggested that he seek financial support from CPC. That, I believe that.
Okay,
I know I spoke with Mr. Palladini at some point after the last CPC meeting, but I don't recall him giving me specifics, financials, or anticipated that arriving, for what it's worth.
okay.
I mean, not
Well-
that it matters at this point, but I'd be hard pressed to vote for anything that didn't have, to take money from the CPC. Because we're getting, if I recollect correctly, this brings us close to, the limits on this one, and, without knowing costs, like hard costs. Like have hard estimates about what's gonna cost what.
I personally think from all of the research I've done to find methods to restore First Cemetery, that there is probably not an organization in existence in New England that you could send an RFQ to and say, please come in and fix all these stones. I'd rather suggest it's the old argument of how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. You do a little this year, you do a little next year, you do a little the year after. And you attack the worst damaged ones first. So sometime down the road, you've got a smaller group of things to address what to do with. I don't think there's any companies that would ever take the quote saying, yeah, I'll take on the whole project and, it'll take us a year. I don't think that company exists in New England. It's mostly volunteer effort repairs in graveyards.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none. Hearing none. Like a motion to close this hearing?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the Lakeview, Maplewood, and Pine Grove cemeteries hearing.
Second. Here, second. Second from Chris Scott. Okay, roll call vote. Chris. Scott. Catherine.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Aye.
And Mike, aye. Okay, that one's closed. Thank you. All right. Got about a minute or so for the next hearing. Scheduled at 7:50.
Is Jay still with us? Jay Byer, you still out there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yes, I am.
Great, thank you. Well, you're next up, just a minute or so.
In case anybody wants to know, it's 3-3 Red Sox and Yankees. Not that I'm not paying attention to everything you're doing, but it just happens to be on the side here.
Can I explain where the seminary mission is?
Jay, what inning is it?
It says bottom of the 6th.
Okay.
Yankees are up.
He needs Yankees are batting.
Yes.
And this shows my ignorance, but is it being played at Fenway or New York?
No, Yankee Stadium. I just learned that all 3 games are at Yankee Stadium.
Really?
Yeah.
Pretty rough.
Apparently, that's the way they do it now.
And they refuse to sell tickets to out of town Massachusetts people.
Yeah.
Not Bronx, you're not getting tickets. It's pretty much what they said.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in New York, but never, ever was a Yankee. If you're from upstate.
I was gonna say you must be from upstate.
I was upstate. Yeah. I was a kid, I found the Montreal Expos.
Oh, yeah.
They could get them on the radio.
Okay, my clock said 7:50.
So does mine. Thank you. All right, next hearing. Okay, the next hearing, $750, $100,000 from the CPA Open Space and Recreation Account for the improvement of athletic fields within the Mendon Upton Regional School District. Jay, could you give us, there's a few people new to the committee, especially who, if you could give us a brief overview of this project. And I can explain why we're asking for $100,000 at some point, or feel free to do that.
All right, so these are the projects. As many of you know, we had 3 capital projects in front of both towns. Both were approved at town meetings and the ballots. CPC in both towns is associated with the field projects at Nipmuc and Misco Hill. The project at Nipmuc involves sort of a reorientation of the football field, or we'll call it the football field in the front, which will have new bleachers, a press box, a bathroom, concession stand, a storage building. It will have a synthetic turf surface, a running track, a competitive track around it, lights on that field. The rest of the Nipmuc fields in the back, the softball and baseball field, are going to be renovated. Softball field, reoriented a little bit, new dugouts, new backstops. Actually, the backstops may be staying. Irrigation system for there. Part of it was a well, although we've already got the well in. A walking track around the entire perimeter of the Nipmuc campus. And then at Misco Hill, the side fields, the baseball and the softball fields, it's a complete regrading and renovation of that. Installation of an irrigation system, new dugouts on the softball field. So it's pretty extensive renovation of the athletic fields at both schools.
And the total project cost is?
Total project cost for all of the fields is just around a little over $12 million. The Nipmuc part of it, the front field is about 9.7 million. The rest of Nipmuc is about 900,000. No, Misco is around 900,000. The backfields are about 1.4 million for all of that. I think, if I understand it correctly, I think Mendon has already done this. The goal here is for the town of Upton to be able to access CPC funds on an annual basis to offset the debt service, for the borrowing for these projects. So the debt service for the field projects alone to the town of Upton are going to average around $460,000, I believe, is the annual debt. That's sort of what I have calculated here based on an average house and on current numbers, current enrollment, current valuation of town. And I think the goal from both towns, is just to reduce the taxpayer cost by using some CPC recreation funds.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I didn't say it right, Mr. Flaherty will correct me.
Hi, Jay.
But the thought would be this $100,000 would be put into a town account. And then when the time arose where this debt had to be serviced, that money could be taken out of that account and put towards the debt service. And the intent was, when this was discussed earlier last spring, the town would potentially do this, or the CPC, CPA would consider funding this for 20 years. So the total appropriation over 20 years could be $2 million. And this is the first appropriation proposed from town meeting.
It should be stated too, for FY26, there is no debt service. We did just borrow some money. The first payment won't be due till October of 2026, will be FY27. So it'll be part of the school's assessment to the towns for FY27 and going forward.
So we would be making a commitment of $100,000 for a 20-year period.
I think, this is something we're going to have to discuss. The way this was written, this is just for this year. So we either have to do this every year, or next year, formulate a different article that would allow us to do this for, many years. But right now, I'm assuming we'll have to do this, an article like this again next year for the next 100,000.
I think you're gonna have to do it annually. I don't think you can make a vote now for the next 20 years, can you?
When we paid the debt on this building, but they don't have a hearing on it annual, right?
Right.
this was part of the original article that that the debt will be serviced or will be covered through the Community Preservation Act. And I guess, I don't know, maybe the committee at the time, they just said, we agreed that we will contribute to collect the debt, because the debt is bonded by the Community Preservation Act and the general fund.
Yeah.
The construction part was covered by CPC. The FF&E is covered by the general fund. The FF&E, pictures, equipment.
You're talking town hall.
Yes.
The difference here is that, even though this is bonded, it's not bonded using CPA funds.
So the language of the article, it would be. If the language, because that's how, I believe that's how the language of the article 11, 12 years ago was.
So for the town hall.
Yes.
But for this project, it's bonded, but it's bonded as part of a larger.
Right, it's gonna have to be how they word that article as funding.
Well, we can cross that bridge next year, but right now, this $100,000 is just sort of basically the first payment. Of potentially.
I'm sorry, Mike, I was just saying that I don't think you can make something now. I think there's a bigger thing you'd have to do to make it annual. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So,
And what happens there, somebody tried to get you to eliminate the Community Preservation Act. Like we adopted it, if when someone gets out of it, you could get out of it. However, you can't get out of the fact that you are already obligated to.
You can't get out of it if it's something that's bonded and the town decided to get out of CP.
Yeah.
That bond will still have to be paid.
Right.
And then, so this bond.
And you still assess on your tax bill.
Right.
To collect that fund.
Hopefully we'll never get to that situation. Okay,
Through the
so.
chair, can I ask a couple questions?
Yes.
Okay. And Jay, I know you folks presented this several times, and I listened to it several times, and I understood it several times. But that was a long time ago. And I've totally forgotten so much of it. Excuse me, I'm going to start choking. So basically, I thought when we discussed it, the CPC expressed a willingness to make a commitment to, and it was just an interest because it was contingent upon what Mendon was going to do, of a certain amount a year for a certain period of time. But we never took a vote that we were going to do it. And from our hearing tonight, you can't do it. You have to do it every single year. And so I just want to make sure that recollection is correct. And I did want to confirm what Jay said, that he believes that Mendon has already agreed to fund the 100,000, but it wouldn't be for the upcoming fiscal year, it'd be for the next one.
So the town of Mendon at their town meeting already appropriated $100,000 from CPC, put it into a special reserve account for offsetting the debt in future years.
Okay.
So they already started it in the FY26 town meeting. Their intent is to do that every year. My understanding is that you'd have to do it every year. My thought would be that, I think I said this to Mike, put the money in your own account so you earn the interest on the money. We're happy to earn interest, but you might as well get it until you have to spend it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, because the debt assessments come in whether you pay for it out of CPC or not, both towns have the ability to assess the debt service outside the limits of 2.5. So it gets paid one way or the other. This is just a way to offset the cost to the taxpayers.
Okay. It's all coming back now. Thank you.
I have the same issue. It's been a long time, and I said it enough times that I don't remember anymore.
One other thing that people should know, especially the new folks, is CPA Act itself prohibits spending CPA funds on the artificial turf.
Correct.
So we'll have to have some kind of procedures in place that the funds that comes out of the CPC doesn't go towards that. But that, like Jay said, that's it's a relatively small percentage of this total project. Cost of the turf, I believe, is probably around $1 million.
Yeah, we should be able to present to the towns a way to show cost and separate out that cost that paid for the turf part. The majority of this project isn't the turf field, so I don't think you'd ever even approach that limit. But there should be a way to separate it out as far as assessing the debt and providing that information to the towns.
Yeah. Any other comments on this?
Mike, question.
Yes.
And maybe to the treasurer, what is the 10% on average amount that goes into the open space? Oh no, this is the recreation account. Do you know what that rough number is offhand?
Well, roughly, I can answer that. Roughly, recent years, the total CPA revenue for Upton has been around $800,000 or $900,000 a year. So 10% of 900,000 would be 90,000. Would go to open, required to be put to open space, and then another 90 historical, 90 to affordable housing.
Do we have to worry about the way that it's worded there? If it comes from open space recreation, that we may not have that balance, but maybe in general we do have it. And I might be mistaken how it's worded. Maybe it just says general CPA funds.
Right now, it could vary from year to year. And right now, we've got $500,000 in the So, but that's again something when we go to discuss these articles after the hearings are closed. One thing for each of them probably should just view where the funding is coming from. But right now, it's written that 100,000 comes from the open space rec account, and there's plenty of revenue there. Brian, you're muted.
We would have the flexibility of changing that wording so it comes from the general account if need be in the future years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we even have the flexibility this year to do that if we wanted.
I'm fine with it being, and I like it from that account. I just want to make sure we have future years, because we do want to make this long-term commitment, that we also have the flexibility to make sure that we can honor it. Okay.
Anything else from anybody on the committee or in attendance? All right, hearing none. Have a motion to close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the Mendon-Upton Regional School District piece of the meeting.
Is there a second?
Scott, second.
Second.
Okay, the hearing's closed. For the vote.
Excuse me, Mike, do you need me any more tonight?
No.
Yeah, we do, Jay. What is the score?
Is it still 3-3? Sorry.
Okay.
Just to close this hearing.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. It's nice seeing you all.
Thank you. Okay, for a roll call vote, Chris Scott.
Aye.
Catherine.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Aye. And Mike. Aye. All right, hearing's been closed. All right. Okay, we are basically at 8:05 for the final hearing of the night. Okay, $650,000 from the CPA undesignated and historic resources accounts for the restoration of Holy Angels Church building. I'm just going to present this, Mike.
I'll start and then I'll hand it off to Dennis. So I did complete an application for this for the committee. I just had a couple of numbers wrong on that because there was some updated discussions and updated figures that were presented to the select board that I hadn't incorporated into that application. So I'll finalize that for your purposes and get that to the community, the committee. So you have that on file. But I'll speak generally about the application itself. I mean, and I'm sure Dennis will talk about the request for funding and what that number is. This is eligible for CPC funding for historic preservation because it is exactly that. It's to preserve or invest in the restoration of Holy Angels Church, which is owned by the town. In order to be eligible for CPA funding per the guidelines of this committee, it needs to be MACRS listed, which it is. And then the second criteria is that if it's not MACRS listed, the Historic Commission should make a vote certifying an opinion that it is of significant historical value. I just forwarded that request to the Historic Commission today. It's an either or situation, so it's MACRS listed, therefore it is eligible for the CPA funding, but I figured it'd be good practice to just send it to the Historical Commission for a vote anyway. We've arrived at this moment. There was, because previously there was $9,000 that was awarded at your annual town meeting, and that was on top of other funds that were already available to secure DUDCA, Criterium DUDCA, which is the architectural form out of, I think it's Hopkinton actually, to provide an assessment, a capital needs assessment for Holy Angels Church. They provided just that. They gave us a baseline quote of needed improvements, and that originally totaled to about 1.8 million. We now know from additional conversations with Criterium DUDCA and Dennis has had additional conversations with consultants that he works with, that number is going to be a bit higher. Part of the reason for that is the $1.8 million number for the total of all the improvements is going to require aspects of the procurement law will kick in, requiring a owner's project manager, otherwise known as an OPM, and that'll add cost to that number, as well as the need for an elevator for ADA purposes, because you have multiple floors in that building. So that is going to add cost, as well as a few other things that were not originally included in that $1.8 million number. Prevailing wage was not originally quoted. So that'll also add significant cost. So all those things. We design, we didn't have a full number for full design, right? So the architect who reviewed it, reviewed everything that needed to happen in order to make the building structurally sound. There was comments about the rafters, the trusses, the roof itself. And there was a whole host of things. I don't even go through it item by item. You can find a copy of that report on the website, on the town manager's page if you'd like to see it. There was also the lead and asbestos abatement, which also added significant cost. Originally, so that information, a lot of that we had at the time of the last CPC meeting. Now have the information tonight. At the last CPC meeting, there was discussion about the decision between continuing on with that full vision to start investing into the, I'll just say, full rehabilitation of the church versus just identifying the items in that report that pertain to the structural elements to kind of first start ticking away at those items to make sure that the building could be structurally sound and protected from the elements into the future before a more clear idea had come out as to what the intention of the building is for. So that was the summary of the discussion, and that's why 650 was advertised for funding requests for tonight. And then I'll hand it off to Dennis. My understanding, the select board has had some discussion, and not only the intent of it is to start pursuing that total rehabilitation, but also we are restricted because we do have a report that has identified a plan of action that we cannot then be in a position to only go out for the 650 and not hire an OPM, because the OPM is a requirement of procurement law. No, Dennis, you want to take it away from me?
Thank you. So, through the chair. So yeah, the Board of Selectmen met last night with members of the FinCom, Kenny Costa, our finance director, and myself to discuss financial articles on the town warrant. It was a brainstorming session. It was designed to take a look at all of the financial articles that are in the draft warrant and to put aside any discussions on deliberating on any of the articles and just assume they're all going to town meeting. And if that is the case, what potential funding sources are available? So when we got to Holy Angels, it was noted that there was already support from CPC to do $650,000 towards supporting that. However, CPC had pretty much specified certain aspects of the report that they wanted that money to go to. So I'm here tonight to discuss that with the committee. Basically, because we had an investigation done on the entire building with an intent, and it revealed approximately $3.2 million to bring the building to where the Board of Selectmen asked it to be brought to, so that something further could be done with it. Because we've identified that number, if we do anything less than that and then subordinate that through any other funding sources and go after the remainder at a later meeting, it would be considered bid splitting. The only way it wouldn't be bid splitting is if we had not done that report and we were just going to, let's say, do some structural things to it. Those are the only things we investigated, and it's the only money we went after, we would be safe. Or if we only did the items that were listed by CPC for the $650,000 and we didn't do anything else with the building. That would be the only way that we could use that money in that fashion. The Board of Selectmen has said, since they hired Criterium, that their goal was, if they're going to put a penny into this building, they're at least going to bring it up to the standard that is recommended by Criterium, so that the building has potential to do something further. It becomes stable. If it sat for a year and waited, it has at least weather tight and meets code and has enough HVAC system to keep it dehumidified and no further water intrusions or mold growing in it. And that's where that 3.2 number came from. So the board last night, and the consensus of everyone else that was there, talking about it going forward to town meeting, suggested that the $650,000 would definitely be able to bring the project forward. In addition to that, we identified remaining money from the painting of the Holy Angels that was not utilized, and money left over from the Racine building because we ended up using ARPA money. So we're going to add another $110,000 to that 650. And this would get us an OPM on board, a designer on board, and we could start some of the work around the building to head towards the big picture with the intent and upfront knowledge on town meeting. And this would be presented by the board if this goes forward through their deliberations, that they would be making it clear to the taxpayers that we would be coming back in the spring for the balance. I'm not saying that definitely would be through CPC. At that time, we would be looking at our finance committee and our finance chair, our finance director and the town manager and the Board of Selectmen to look at what potential funding sources were available at that time, what other projects are competing against it, and talk about coming up with the remaining balance to finish the building.
Through the
And
chair,
grants. And grants.
yeah. Through the chair, can I ask a few questions because that's not my recollection of the last CPC meeting. And I just want to, I mean, in my opinion, and I'm just one member of this organization, $650,000 is a lot of money, just to make sure that a building doesn't fall down before we decide what to do with it. And, you know, we talked at the last meeting we had that there was a conceptual plan to put an art center there, which I think everybody is very supportive of. I think, you know, personally, I'm thinking myself personally, but it's not there yet. And so I thought what we discussed was putting up, you know, looking at the proposal that was proposed last time and looking at the funding that was already there and not knowing what the build out inside is going to be. So we don't know where we need to put stuff if we put stuff. We were looking at, you know, protecting the envelope of the building, you know, doing the steeple, and doing, you know, the trusses, you know, the basic work that needed to be done to keep the building from falling down, which would basically buy us time to figure out A, if the building is reusable, B, if is the art center is a reality and is, I mean, the group is formed, but if it's in a place where it can actually, you know, use this before we do the rest of it. And the figure that I thought we talked about at the last meeting was 200,000, not 650. I mean, 650, you know, it was 9,000 last time. This time we're talking 650. We're saying come back in the springtime for another, you know, 2.5 million for something we don't even know really how we're going to use it yet. That just seems to me really, I mean, it seems that we're sort of pushing this forward without pushing it forward. We're not making up our minds. We're not, you know, I mean, and I hate to say this, but, you know, there was never any real consideration of demo. And I think the building is historically significant. I think that, you know, there's a lot of reason to keep it up, but I think it's really premature to put more than $500,000 in these economic times into this building. 200,000 I was comfortable with. 650, and I don't know where we went from 200,000 to 650.
Well, Kevin, I'm looking at the minutes from the meeting on the 3rd, and 650 or $200,000 weren't part of the motion. The motion was for CPC to recommend a warrant article to the Board of Selectmen for engineering study focused on design and construction of the exterior of Holy Angels. It was Kay Robertson motion, Chris Scott second, motion passed unanimously. So,
That, to the best of my recollection, honestly, Mike, that was not the motion I made. We talked about, and there was a lot of talk about it, but we talked about 200,000. We didn't talk about 650, and we added it up. We added it up, what the costs in that study were, and then we subtracted the amounts that are already appropriated. And it was my understanding at that, you know, there may have been something lost in translation. I should have looked at the minutes more carefully. But there may have been something lost in translation because we were adding, you know, there was 62,000 or something already appropriated for painting. And then I thought there was more money a couple of years ago that was done for structural, that was appropriate for some structural work, but it wasn't enough. So I thought we came up with an original figure of about, you know, maybe close to 400,000, and we subtracted the stuff up and we came down with about 200,000. But when we came up with that, it was mostly just to advise the Board of Selectmen that we weren't willing to support the entire nut of the $1.8 million as a starting point. But I, you know, and I can tell you for certain, I would have never put forward a motion for $650,000, never.
Yeah, through the chair. I agree with everything Catherine said. The only thing I don't recall from that meeting is going over a specific amount. I agree. So we did go through the Criterium Dudka report, because I remember I brought it up on the screen, and we did go through the items, and I'm looking at it right now. There's no figure for like $200,000, so I don't remember exactly where we landed, and that's probably why the motion didn't include a number figure. Because after the meeting, I went through the report and identified what Catherine was just mentioning, which is items that were concerning structural stabilization for the future of the building, right? Structural stabilization, which is what was amounted to about 150,000. And then, skipping past mechanical costs, skipping past electrical system costs, skipping past plumbing system costs, because those were all things that would not pertaining to buttoning up the building, essentially, right? And then roof and roof trusses, which is an important structural component, which was 175,000. Steeple, making that watertight, which was another 35,000. And then the building envelope and replacement was 290,000. So I think it might have been a little more than was originally looked at that meeting. But when I put together the public hearing notice, I felt it was important to capture all of those to bring a higher number to the committee tonight. If out of this discussion, you decided we need to go lower and we're not supportive of 650. So that was the intent for the conversation tonight. Immediately after that meeting, obviously the conversation has shifted to what the select board's conversation was last night, and the information that Dennis presented on tonight, which was issues regarding bid splitting, which is something that I was unaware of, not being very fluent in the procurement processes.
Yeah.
So if an approval was done for exterior envelope restoration and preservation, roofing, siding, paint, trusses, etc.
And could I ask if the committee has any other comments?
Public hearing and stuff.
Yeah, and thank you. Yep. Definitely want to hear what you're saying, but let's just see. Is anyone else from the CPC committee have anything to say about this right now? Brian?
But Mike, I'm in the hospital lobby, so it's pretty noisy here, sorry. What was the minute saying? What was the amount that I agree with what Mike said. We went through, we identified what we thought was needed to button up the building and secure it so further damage would not be done. What was, and Mike just did it here for 650. What was the actual minutes? What was that amount stated? I missed that.
Oh, there's no amount in the motion, but the minutes say solutions. Let me read part of the minutes here. Solutions to bring the building to code are evaluated and costs were estimated. That was fairly long discussion. Solutions to bring the building up to code are estimated at 1.8 million. Potential uses and the cost of hiring a project manager were discussed. Well, Mike Penko proposed that the warrant article stick to those costs and not consider an OPM before the physical structure has been improved. I would say that I was trying to summarize the discussion at that point. I actually had a note here to add it to the minutes, but I didn't bother to ask it. But that was a summary, I think, of a fairly lengthy discussion. And then the actual motion, Kay Robertson motion for the CPC to recommend a warrant article to the Board of Selectmen for an engineering study focused on the design and construction of the exterior of Holy Angels. Chris Scott second. The motion passed unanimously by voice vote. So there was no dollar figure actually in the motion.
Right, okay. Yeah, and I do know that the report was in the, CPC's, I think, file, and that's where we I think it was in the planning board's file, and that's where we went over the numbers. And then we subtracted out the monies that were already appropriated. So.
My recollection was, the items that Mike read off from what he was summing up to the 650, those all, to me, sound familiar as what we identified and felt was needed to make sure the building did not get worse. and that would maintain the value that exists now. So I don't like the amount, but I do think that it is basically, it's the right amount to complete that work. What I am confused though is what Dennis was mentioning, and didn't completely follow that, is that if we put this 650 in, is there, I don't know what the next steps are. So we've got to come back. Is that still allowed in bid splitting? So I'm not sure we're resolving that bid splitting issue.
I could take that through the chair.
Dennis, please.
Thank you. So what would happen is if the CPC commits X amount of funds towards the Holy Angels restoration, whatever the funds may be, let's say for argument's sake, it's 250, or if it's 550, or if it's 650, that money combined with $110,000 that we have identified in other articles that is free and can be used to it, will be used to hire an OPM first, and then go out for designer selection, because that's the process we use in this town and is accepted by the AG's office for bringing in a designer for it. And then any money left over for bringing them on board. Keep in mind, the goal of the Board of Selectmen is to do all of this work. They're not on board with doing some of it. They want to do all of this. So they're willing to take what we have now to get it going, but they're going to make it clear to town meeting floor that we're going to be coming back to do the rest of this work in the spring, at the spring town meeting. So this, whatever money CPC gives, and it doesn't have to be 650. That was the number that I heard, and but it doesn't have to be, because keep in mind, by the time an OPM comes on board and a designer is picked and they begin their work, it will only be a matter of months and the warrant will be open and we'll be talking about gearing up for spring town meeting.
Mm-hmm. So Dennis, we can definitely do this work that the CPC at the previous meetings was interested in securing the building. That is not that we're allowed to do that. And then if the town wants to do the additional work, they will drive that process forward themselves, right? Or other boards.
The first two things we have to do by law is hire an OPM. And then the second thing we have to do, first thing is the OPM, second is the designer. Then after that, we can use whatever available funds we have before the Springtown meeting to start addressing what can be addressed at that point. Or depending on the funds, there may be just enough for the engineer to get going with all of his work, because our estimated engineering cost for the project is $360,000. And our estimated OPM for the project is $265,000. So
yeah, I think some of our discussion with
beginning would just get them going, and like we have done with other projects in town, it wouldn't bring them across the finish line. Nothing brings this project across the finish line without additional appropriation.
And that makes sense, and I think we all knew that. It was just trying to maintain the asset until it could be figured out what could be done, and then the future money would be aligned with what that future need was going to be. And if it's 3.2 million or whatever it is, that it's spent appropriate for that determined and future need. And we were not knowing what the future need was. I think we were first balking at the doing the whole project.
And one last thing, Chair, if I may. So the number that we have is a 30,000 foot flyover number. Most of it is created by Criterion. These are not engineers that are going to design this project. It's based on the best information that they have available to them. The hope is that when your engineer and your OPM actually get on board, and you're going to get more truer numbers, and those numbers are going to be more conservative and lower than what you're looking at here. So when we go back to Springtown meeting, it wouldn't be, well, let's use the 650 for argument's sake, it wouldn't be 2.5 million. It would be less. That's the hope.
So, Mike, if it's okay, if I ask another
Yes.
question? So, Dennis, it sounds like then what you just laid out, the money that we're in the first steps too in the process, is really to get us going with that OPM and the engineering studies. And like you said, it probably won't put much dent into, if any, of securing the building. And that's probably really, we're preparing ourselves for maybe the annual town meeting with a better number to really truly secure the building, or hopefully even determine what that future need is, and maybe what the selectman wants is to complete the project. Is that, so maybe our article and request really is to just get the project going with the OPM, the design work, and because I don't think we'll be able to do what this committee originally wanted to do with that 650,000 or whatever that amount was of securing the building.
I mean, through the chair, just to follow up with this a little bit is, you know, we don't know what we're doing with the building. We don't know if the building is going to be reused. We don't know anything right now. And I don't understand why we're looking at, you know, spending a significant chunk of change. You know, we just did the athletic fields, we finished the community center, we've, you know, done, you know, and there's a lot of the stuff I do support, but it just seems that we are very much putting the cart in front of the horse on this, and we are not ready. You know, I would like to secure that building. And, you know, Dennis, you know, I have utmost respect for Dennis. And if he says we need an OPM, we need an OPM, you know, but to be spending $650,000, you know, at the last town meeting, there was $9,000. It was $9,000 to do study. So they did a study, and in the study, you know, it basically said, they're not sure how good these figures are. And Dennis is saying, well, maybe, you know, they're conservative, but maybe they're liberal. And we've got tariffs coming down. We've got a lot of like things going on in the economy now that no one can predict. And, you know, to say, okay, so we're going to spend another $650,000 on it. And then we're obligating ourselves further on down the line to spend another $3.54 million on it. And we don't have a plan yet. And I just can't get my arms around that. I'm sorry. We have conceptual ideas, really good ideas, but we don't have a plan yet. And so what I was talking about the last meeting, and I still firmly believe this, I would like that building stabilized. I like the ideas that tossed around. I like all this, but I don't believe that we are in a position to commit $650,000, which in essence puts us into a long-term obligation to do another $350,000, whatever is down the pike to do, you know, the remediation, handicapped accessibility, HVAC, all the internal work that needs to be done, all the exterior work that needs to be done to deal with the parking issues. I mean, we don't even know anything about parking. You know, I'm assuming this is going to have to go to the planning board at some time. It hasn't even gone there. I don't know if it's gone to the Concom. I mean, I just think that this is way, way, way premature. You know, that's my opinion, and, you know.
You were going to make a comment.
Well, yeah, I was thinking whether or not to still make it, but I personally feel you have to start somewhere. And, you know, I understand what's at the end of last September's meeting, Mike had direction where to go, and he did exactly what the commission or what the committee was speaking about. He came up with a cost, Mike, he came up with a cost estimate to basically stabilize the structure. We have a draft article that reflects that. And then, but none of us knew at the time that we had a need to establish an OPM because the bid splitting problem that's identified. So it seems to me, what do we do? You know, at this point, other than go forward with the OPM and design and try to do some stabilization with the funds that we have. What is the alternative?
Not go forward with it. Not go forward with it.
Look
at a plan B. Look at demo.
Yeah, that is the alternative. It appears to be to do nothing, let the building further deteriorate. Personally, I'm not sure. I think there is uncertainty on how the building's going to be used. I suspect there will be a use determined if it is stabilized, if it is made habitable, elevator installed. I'm not personally worried about parking because there's parking right across the river at the community center, Catherine. There's some parking on the Thompson parcel right now. Potential parking there. I mean, if we wait to have all the answers for this project, the thing's gonna fall down, and then it'll be an easy decision what to do. Just tear it down.
Mike, we haven't even decided we're doing the Knowlton Racine yet. We have conceptual plans. We have ideas for Knowlton Racine. We're looking at retail.
No, we're not talking about Knowlton Racine right now.
Yes.
And we also have some direction from the select board apparently to go a different way. I mean, the way that was discussed back early September was the stabilization through select board met with Dennis and FinCom last night, and it seemed like that the way forward there that's being recommended is with the OPM design route.
Excuse me.
I was gonna, I can't talk. So, just so we're perfectly clear, the board has not discussed whether or not this article is gonna go forward to town meeting or not yet. Last night was a discussion of a fair playing field, and everything was gonna go forward financially. How could we financially support everything if that happened? And this was the information that came from the board. Your board, just like you're hearing from your current board, your board of selectmen, and what I hear around town is this is a pretty big topic in town, and the town is split, really. And your current board of selectmen is split. There is a member on that board that's fairly adamant and been fairly vocal that they don't want the building to go forward, and quite the opposite from another individual that supports it wholeheartedly. This is going to be an interesting conversation when we debate this finally before town meeting. And then I suspect if it makes it through the board of selectmen and ends up on town meeting, you're going to see another very active debate.
I maybe just stated it wrong, but my assumption is if this gets to town meeting through the select board, approve the article, gets discussed so that the whole town discusses it. Town meeting discusses it rather than 3 selectmen or 8 members of this committee. But right now, the proposed article will take the form of OPM and design because it has to, because it's procurement laws.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was trying to say that's what came out of your meeting.
Yeah.
Like yesterday. So we really spinning our wheels if we go backwards and start talking about stabilization costs and doing that without an OPM. Is that fair? So.
And just one more comment, and then I promise I'll shut up. I would suggest that a lower cost, again, I support stabilizing the building. I support buying time to figure out what the best use is and to give the 140 Arts group a chance to really get together and come up with a plan and start its fundraising and come up with a formal agreement with the town. I strongly support that. I think that what we are talking about, if I'm understanding this meeting correctly, if we come in with 650, the expectation is the Springtown meeting, the annual town meeting will come in with the rest. So we're making it a done deal tonight. And my suggestion would be that $650,000 is going to be a difficult figure to get through town meeting. Whereas if there is, and I understand with the OPM, but if there is a lesser amount, it might be more palatable to me, but it would also might be more palatable to people that come up to town meeting. I'd like to get that number down.
Dennis, can I ask you a question? Is it in your opinion, is it necessary to fund the entire estimated cost of the OPM at this time?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
However, Mr. Chairman, I will say that think about it logically. If you're gonna hire an OPM and an engineer to start designing a building, and then you don't go forward with that, and in Springtown meeting, it flatlines and that's the end of it, there's no return for that work that you paid for. You know what I mean? They didn't go over and fix gutters or windows or stop some roof leaks. All they did was stop drawings and investigations, forming design criteria, and that's what you paid for. And then we don't do anything with it, then that money's not recoupable. It's spent. Money wasted. Yeah, I was trying not to say it that way, but yeah.
So would an article that proposed some amount of money for the OPM and design plus some amount of money for stabilization, would an article written like that be legal or meet the procurement laws?
Not like that, but if you put enough money to hire an OPM and a designer to bring it to the 25% design, which means out of these big numbers for all of the OPM and all of designer, you're only using a small portion of it. The thought is that by the time they finish that 25% design, you are coming up on Springtown meeting, and this is where you finish.
But through
Then
the
you're
chair, why
looking at
can't
a
we
much
just do,
smaller number.
just through the chair, for the acting town manager, why can't we just do, the OPM and a engineer or designer to look at the structural issues and not the whole building? Because we can't design the building now because we don't know what it's going to be used for. Why can't we just do what we need to do the structural? I mean, I've heard lots of ideas tossed around. Are we going to use the second floor? Are we not going to use the second floor? This is a work in progress. And so why can't we just, I said I was going to shut up earlier, but why can't we just do get an engineer on, get an OPM on board, get an engineer on board and say, we want you to come up with a design so we can do the structural improvements. And then we can do the structural improvements, the structural stabilization. Nothing to figure out what we're doing with the interior of the building. None of that, just the bare minimum that we need to keep that building up. Why can't we do that?
I understand completely. I do. And the answer is very simple, that the care, custody, and disposition of that building falls under the purview of the Board of Selectmen. And they have already stated to me in my presence on more than one occasion that they're doing this, Catherine, the entire thing in their mind is what criteria was hired to investigate on what was needed to get that building to the level that they wanted to see. They're doing this, or they're not doing the building at all.
So they're doing everything with CPC funds, or they're doing nothing at all?
No. I'm sorry. That they're looking for CPC support to get the ball rolling at this town meeting. They're not expecting that. There's no guarantee that they get additional CPC funds for the next request, but there will be a next request. That's the guarantee, because they're not going to stop until they complete this.
And so what you're saying, Dennis, is you said, I thought there was a division on the Board of Selectmen. What you're saying now is the Board of Selectmen is committed to moving this forward.
Well, they all committed to doing, if they're going to do it, and this is the caveat, they've always said, if it makes it through and goes to town meeting and we're going to do it, we're going to do all of this, not some of it. We're not going to put a Band-Aid on it. We're either going to bring it up to what the experts recommended, or we're not going to do it at all. But it has not made it past their scrutiny for the article, and it may not.
It still has to pass the finance committee and the whole
Correct.
discussion too.
Correct.
I just got one question I'd like to ask quickly before I went. So if it were a public-private partnership, would that still require the OPM?
Yes, because the town is involved, procurement law still prevails. So through the chair, Catherine, did I answer your question?
Yes
trying
and
to-
no. Yes and no. I understand.
What did it?
I understand that what the Board of Selectmen has sort of said or indicated is that they don't want to just do structural stabilization. If we do structural stabilization, we're going to do everything. And, and again, I want to just check something with you, Dennis. I mean, we keep talking about the OPM as being a huge money suck. That really isn't a huge money suck in the scheme of things, correct? I mean, when we're talking about, if you bring on an OPM to do, let's say, again, the structural stabilization, we're not talking like tons of money. We're talking a portion of the money. But what I hear you saying is we don't have the flexibility to just do the structural stabilization. That we have to, if we go ahead to say we want to do structuralization, we say we have to also move forward with hiring someone to do the design out, to the build out for a building that, again, we don't know how it's going to be built out yet. And we have to hire an OPM to oversee the designer to design a building that we don't know what we're doing with yet. And, and to answer Mike's question about parking, yeah, it does have to go before planning board because it's a formula. And I know even when we built the community center, there were split votes because there weren't enough shared spaces to fit that zoning in the downtown area. So it is going to have to go before planning board. And there will be disagreements on planning board about the parking. I can guarantee you that. But anyways, that's a whole different thing. So did I answer your question, Dennis?
Yes, you did.
Mr. Chairman, when I just go back to what Mr. Westgate has said. When I see this from the selectmen, the way they're approaching this right now, they want to roll the dice. They don't want a piece of pie. They want the whole pie. And to Catherine's point, the piece of pie is just doing the basic necessity to stabilize the building. Seal the roof, do whatever you have to do. Selectmen are saying, no, we want the whole pie. So if the vote for the whole pie fails, the roof's still going to leak. You're still going to have these same issues. I mean, if you want to stabilize the building, and this, I say this facetiously, get on Ocean State and buy a whole bunch of blue tops and pay somebody to go up there and nail them on it.
Yeah, that doesn't do the support beams though, Paul. That might help with the rain, but it doesn't do the trusses and things like that, so.
Maybe, Mr. Chairman, it would help if I better defined what this is. It definitely isn't a finished building by any means. There's a lot that would need to be done to complete that building after this. This, in the Board of Selectmen's eyes, is what is necessary to make the building stable. So what it does is it puts an entirely new roof on it because the roof is antiquated. It was put in a time when today's codes didn't exist. There's no snow and ice shield up there. There's no shielding around the chimney or all the things that you would normally see in a roof today don't exist. So you're putting an entirely new roof on, including all of the moldings. You're sealing the steeple and doing all the glazing around that and finishing that off so that it is back to stable and there's no water intrusion. You're taking the first floor and you're structurally making it so it can hold an assembly. And that was one of the things the board wanted to make sure. Currently, right now, the way the building is, it doesn't meet code for assembly. So if you decided to have certain types of venues in there, you would be restricted. So this corrects that. This also replaces one of the sills that's rotted. It takes all of the siding off of the building, repairs a lot of rot, especially from about 15 feet down. There's a tremendous amount of rot that all gets replaced. Then a vapor barrier goes up because there isn't one now, but back then that wasn't code. The siding goes back up and gets stripped, primered, couple coats of paint. They put rough electrical, rough plumbing, and rough HVAC in so that they could control humidity in there at the recommendation of Criterion. Otherwise, if you don't, you're going to get fluctuations in temperatures that's going to create water issues in the building, even though it's not an intrusion from outside.
Yeah.
It's a fluctuation in temperature so great that you're going to go back to a mildew situation that ends up being a mold situation. It remediates all of the lead paint that's considered to be in the building. It remediates all of the asbestos that's in the building. What am I missing? There's some roof rafters that need to be redone to meet code today for snow load. That gets done. And then there is insulation and rough, what do you call it? Sheetrock. It's not taped up, finished up, mudded, or any of that stuff. It's not painted. There's no carpets. There's no petitions. There's no lights. And that's considered in Criterion's recommendation to be a stable building.
Yeah.
And that's 3 million.
That's 3.197.
And it's an ADA and an elevator right now?
There, I'm sorry, there is an elevator, yes, and it addresses ADA. Yeah, good point, Mr. Chairman.
So basically, at the end of the day, you'd have a building that could potentially be turned over to a user, for their final, for whatever use, whether it's going to be offices or an art center.
And those folks will still have to make an investment in that building.
Yeah. The future tenant would possibly be responsible for.
Right.
Mike, can I ask a question? So Dennis, that's what you just laid out is what 3.2 million roughly, right? All with the OPM and the design work, right?
Oh. Correct.
Okay. What for the 650? What is covered there? Just the OPM and the design work, would you say?
If you wanted to pay all of the OPM and design work, then yeah, that would be along that line. But I don't know why we would want to do something like that when we'd be going back at a subsequent meeting to finish the building. It would behoove us to use some of that to hire the OPM and the designer to bring us to a certain stage of the design that gets us to the Springtown meeting. And there'll be money left over to start doing other items that, one, I can't sit here and tell you what some of them would be because I'm not an OPM or a designer or an architect. But I can tell you some of them off the top of my head. For safety reasons, all of those ramps and the outside ramps that you see and all of those metal columns, they're a serious safety issue. And I'm sure our insurance company would have something to say about that. But that needs to be removed, and that needs to be removed by a professional company with a crane. So things like that could start working immediately. And whatever else the engineer thinks would be money well spent ahead of time. There's going to be some remediation they're probably going to want to do before they start putting people in the building. So some of the hazardous materials, I'm going to say, I believe most of the lead, most of the asbestos, is in the tiles, so it's not friable. But as soon as you start boring holes in them for tests or whatnot, it becomes an issue. So I would imagine they're probably going to recommend we start doing some remediation of some of that hazardous material. Those things are kind of up front and not necessarily towards the back. Those
Through
are
the
the kind
chair
of things.
for Mr. Westgate, does the $650,000 include the work to button up the envelope of that building, do the steeple, do the roof, or is this just soft costs associated with getting it ready to stabilize the building?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Okay.
The 650,000.
If we go forward with the $650,000,
Right.
our original intent was to stabilize the building. Is that $650,000 going to go anywhere towards stabilizing the building? The areas we had talked about at our last meeting were the roof, the steeple, stopping the leakage, doing work to the exterior of the building, getting rid of some of the rot, getting rid of some of the, you know, replacing some of the trusses inside. So my question is it $650,000, if this moves forward with the CPC, is that going to touch any of that work? Or are we talking basically to get to 25% engineering and to hire the OPM? Is this all soft costs, or are we going to be able to stabilize the building? Or we're going to have to wait to get more funding to stabilize the building?
I think that some of the money, if you're talking about 650,000, I mean, I'll be candid. You're only looking at having an OPM on board and a designer for less than a half a dozen months. So you're probably talking about $60,000 or $80,000 for each to get you to town meeting. So you have the remaining balance of that 650 to be used for things associated with the building construction. But I couldn't tell you for certain because I'm not an architect. So I wouldn't be able to guess what they would be recommending to do with that next. I suspect it would be, Catherine, some of that. It would be headed for some of that. But I couldn't tell you with certainty. Sorry.
No, don't take your apology. You're wonderful, Paul.
But let me just, so how much did you say was available from other sources, from the painting and?
110.
So there's 110 there. The 650 figure that we're throwing around, is that in addition to 110?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could.
So then you'd have roughly $760,000.
Correct.
And then you said maybe 80 for the.
Yeah,
For the
because you're not,
OPM
we're only going to engage them until we get to town meeting.
So that's 160,000 there, say, for those two. That leaves you $600,000
They're definitely going to be doing some work in the building.
for work.
Yeah.
On the building. Did you follow that, folks? Catherine, did you follow that? Okay, again, I'll go through it one more time. $110,000 available from other sources already appropriated. If we had 650 from CPA, that totals 760,000. Assuming $160,000 would be spent between now and next town meeting, May town meeting, for the OPM and design. That leaves $600,000 that could be applied towards whatever the OPM and the town decided was the best place to put the money to stabilize the building or to begin
We're
to
not going to
remediate.
stabilize the building until at the earliest next year sometime.
Well, I think this gives us the quickest path to doing that.
Yeah, no, we're making a commitment to keep the building. That's what we're doing. We're making a commitment.
But I was trying to address, your question about,
Yeah,
what are we?
no, I understand. It'll give us, yes, it'll give us some
I-
money to move forward down the pike when the engineering, yes, I understand what you're saying, Mike. I'm just frustrated with it, that's all.
All right. So I had a couple things. So where are we in the negotiations with the 140 yards piece?
We have emailed the select board to have a meeting with them to see if we can create a public-private partnership, but I don't think the select board hasn't reached out to us to have that meeting yet, because I think they're still debating. I know they were talking last night with the finance committee about what they want to do, so I'm not sure if they're at the point where they're ready to have that conversation with us. But with that being said, 140 Arts just met with a man named Paul Scarlett from Grafton, who founded the Apple Tree Arts there, and he was telling us how Grafton went about funding or creating their public-private partnership so that they could save a building on the Grafton Common. So he kind of filled in a lot of our questions. So he might be a good resource going forward for that conversation.
Okay, so, all right, so that's still there. And then I think my other question was more geared towards FinCom of saying, that, so based on this meeting that happened last night and maybe some ideas of how the rest of it gets funded, is there Is there monies? Because I remember Joe telling us for this fiscal year, things needed to get cut because we were at our cap, right?
It's a bond. You're gonna borrow it. And how are you gonna pay it back? Well, as we alluded to earlier, maybe some of the structural aspects can be covered by historic preservation. But anything you put in that building new, the air conditioner, the heating system, heat, plumbing, everything like that, that's on the taxpayer's dime. Even though the CPC is the taxpayer's dime as well.
Yeah.
But that's coming on taxation.
Sure.
Well,
And again,
wait a minute, Paul.
just let me finish.
I'm sorry.
There is no plan for that building.
Uh,
The
I
selectmen
understand.
control that building.
They don't, I don't know if they can just make a public-private partnership. We talked about this yesterday. It sounded like they had to go out to like bid and other people could all of a sudden see the town says we're gonna do $3.1 million, $3.2 million, and all of a sudden be interested.
Right.
So I think we just have to temper our focus. It's an idea.
Yeah.
It's something out there, but my suggestion is that we have to wait to see what the select board does. I mean, if you guys spend $650 and they decide they don't want to move forward because all of a sudden it goes to 4 million, 5 million, who knows where it's gonna go? Like, we have to really be aware of that, especially with the OPM and the designer, like, this is real money that we're gonna spend on a building that we could put, one of the things that we brought up yesterday also, and the OPM and the designer would take care of this, but doing anything and then not moving forward.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you guys have talked about the roof and doing all these things, like, can we do those things and then do repairs later or pause and then come back to it? Like, I don't know. It's just an unknown. Like, it's not even like
Understood.
it's not even a decision of I'm supporting it or not supporting it. Like, from a financial perspective, like, do you put that type of money towards something that the
Maybe.
select board hasn't said, yes, I want to support this, I'm gonna put this forward, like,
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
divided.
If
And Dennis said it kind of
comment, I may comment president. Let's say you stabilize the building. And somebody comes forward and say, oh, now that it's stable, I'm willing to take a chance on this and fix the rest of it. Now you've got an air conditioning system, you've got all this superstructure inside the building. This guy doesn't want. He's gonna pull it out. It's like, you're gonna sell your house, you put new cabinets in. The new owner doesn't like the cabinets, they're gonna pull them out. If there's just way too many moving parts here. And the biggest thing is, there's no plan. There's no plan.
The one thing you will have done is you will have increased the asset value to the town, therefore, town were to sell that building, the value of selling it would be significantly higher than it is today, which is, it's almost worthless today. So a significant part of the investment of a $3.2 million restoration of that structure would come in return if somebody stepped forward and said, I want to take a chance and buy the building.
To your point.
You're stuck with the air conditioning, no matter whether you like it or not.
Sure.
That's their problem.
To to this point. Right now, you're not getting any tax dollars for it. If it goes to, quote, an art center, still not getting any tax dollars. But there was a plan way back to use the church in George Thompson's block. And you would have got tax dollars out of it. Now, back to Mike's original point, and that, where are you gonna park?
Yeah.
If there's an event at the community center, there's stuff there in the day. There's 85 parking spaces at the community center. 16 on the town side, 16 on the VFW side, that's covered by the shared parking agreement that we worked out with them. All right. If there's a good thing going in and they use it Saturdays and all, you ain't gonna park there.
No.
You ain't gonna park there.
Well, I can't speak.
When Holy Angels was going, you used to park where the community center is.
Of course. And filled up the whole thing. Yep.
There's just a lot of moving parts here. And there's too many moving parts to spend 600,000 or even 200,000 on this.
Well, to be honest, I think it's easy to throw darts at this. You have to, either you start somewhere. Or, you know, you tear the building down. You know, you have to either start somewhere, you can't just let it sit any longer, or you tear it down. And when someone's saying there's too many moving parts, we don't know what we're gonna do, you know, that's true to an extent, but unless we start, the building is gonna be lost, and you're gonna lose the aesthetic value of the building on consent. You're gonna lose an opportunity to have an art center.
Please don't keep saying it's gonna be an art center, because nobody
I said
knows
an
what it
opportunity,
is.
I said an opportunity. An opportunity for an art center, I didn't say it was gonna be. But if you lose the aesthetics, the historic building that's no longer there. You have to start somewhere.
Can I just mention one thing? I don't disagree with what you're saying. My concern is you're starting early and then the money is gone for something because you wanted to start early. You're gonna get into doing OPM and maybe some construction. You're talking, what, 4 months, 5 months before May? When hopefully we'll have a decision. We never know. Maybe the select board will put it on and say, we're moving forward with this. And then that's more definitive to say, yes, we should move forward. The select board is all supportive. They want to put it on and the town supports it. You're right. But if you're going to do this without the support of doing that whole step one, then, I mean, now you're going to throw things all in disarray because you want to start early. Like, I don't know. That's a little bit risky for me.
One thing I will say is we are running out of space in the community center. That was a $12 million building, so, I mean, we're making a big fuss over $3 million, and it is a lot of money, but $3 million in the grand scheme of things to have a useful building that we can utilize with the community center running out of space, and maybe in 10 years down the line, we say we need another building because we don't have enough room. We could spend $3 million and have that place up and running and have a totally useful building for our community, so.
$3 million does not get you to be able to have anything in that building. That $3 million is gonna look just like it does now. It's gonna be empty. It's not gonna be able to be used. It's not gonna be able to be inhabited. You're not gonna be able to do anything in it for $3 million. Correct. It's gonna be stable. It's not gonna be leaking water. So it's gonna cost $5+ million, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea what it's gonna cost, but it's not $3 million.
Yeah, but,
And
okay.
our cost isn't $3 million either. It's gonna be more than $3
But
million.
for a new community center, how much would that be in this day and age with inflation? That's gonna
New
be
community
20 million, something like that?
Okay, let's,
Can I ask one? Dennis, want to tell them the rest of the story?
As far as the town hall?
Town hall?
I have to ask permission for the chair to go off subject.
Town hall, DPW building? All right,
that's Paul. This has nothing to do with DPW.
it's from
It's
the
already-
standpoint of money that's being spent.
The chair, okay.
And I know,
It's already looked past 9. We have other things on the agenda. We have to vote on these. I would like to actually close this hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I moved that we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Chris Scott, seconded. Okay, yes, for a vote here, for a roll call vote. Okay. Christine Scott,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Chris, Jones.
Aye.
Aye, and Mike, aye. So a majority of the members present have closed this hearing. Okay. All right. Sorry, this has taken.
Mike,
Yes.
can I ask a quick question before we go any further? Can we hold another meeting to vote on these issues? I'm just really I'm getting really burned out. As you know, I was injured a while ago and I'm just
Going
starting
to-
to think.
This is a very emotional topic. But I think there's no reason why we couldn't do that. There is something we need to, we need to talk about. So, I was looking, the one thing we need to talk about is an unanticipated topic. And I think Dennis, it involves town hall. So if we could discuss that and and then, after we do that, let's consider, scheduling another meeting to actually vote on the articles. But Dennis, could you talk?
I'll try to be brief on this. So as I stated for the committee, the Board of Selectmen, members of the Finance Committee, the Finance Director met last night to discuss the financial articles that are on town meeting. And one of them that has come, if you recall, we appropriated money last year, $35,000 to have an envelope and study of the town hall because we knew we had water intrusion on the west side wall from a storm where we had an insurance claim. And when the insurance company hired a company to come out and take a look at it, they realized that there were some issues here. So we had asked for $35,000 at a previous town meeting. It was awarded to us. The company came out, they did their investigation, and they have put together their findings. And it's not that great, really. I'm such a bearer of bad news tonight. But anyway, the town hall looks good from outside, but if you go through the pictures that when I do my presentation to the board, please watch it because you'll get to see everything up close. There is a great deal of damage to the exterior of this building. First of all, the roof was not done when the building was done. It was done in 2000. So the roof is 25 years old, and it was installed in an inferior fashion, as pointed out by the architects and the engineers. There's serious issues with the way that they constructed the roof on this building, such that it has failed in several locations and allowed water to penetrate the building. All of the work around the brickwork, which is done with lead tin, is supposed to be one piece and molded, and it was sliced and overlaid. So water got underneath that and there was intrusions there. The building was not originally sealed when the original work was done to the building, and it should have been. It's a wood frame building with a brick and mortar facade. So it naturally wants to act like a sponge and pull moisture from outside in. And that requires that every 12 to 15 years, the outside of the building should be sealed. So when they went around and they did their investigation and they documented everything, they found areas underneath the sills where the mortar had let go, and we have serious water intrusion and some shifting of some bricks. They found all the glazing around the windows had come out. The entire roof needs to be redone, including the snow and ice shield, the gutters. The snow and ice prevention system that we have on it is inadequate and would need to be redone. All of the, there's even some foundation work that would need to be done on the west side where water is gaining access to the building. So I said I would be brief, and I'm not. We're looking at a little over $3 million. I have it here. $3,390,000. When we discussed it last night, the finance director suggested CPC. And he suggested a borrow and a commitment from CPC for the note, at least up front, and then we could talk about subsequent funding later on, but I think you know where I'm getting at.
Did he come up with it like a yearly?
His off the gentleman help me, wasn't his off the cuff? Because I think Rick McGuire asked him was like two. I think he said 270, 280, 270,000 a year was the note.
Something like that.
Yeah,
I was like, I think 220.
It was in the twos, that I remember.
Said bond rates are changing 4.5%.
But in the 200,000 range.
Right. But that wouldn't be for, you would do the work and the bond would be what, like the next fiscal year?
Yeah, we would go out to bond until, it would be next
You
year.
could go a couple of years, you could do a ban and then go out again. I think you can, when you do these things, I think you can do 3 bans, I don't know.
So I have put this into town council's hands just to make sure that all of the estimate provided by the company actually qualifies for CPC. Right.
Thank you.
And then I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention that the recommendation from the finance director to the Board of Selectmen was to seek funding through your committee. Not for a large dollar amount commitment, but the annual note.
Coverage of the, okay.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing that you talked about for the school.
Yeah.
Pretty much what you did for town hall
In town.
originally.
Through the chair, can I ask Mr. Westgate 2 quick questions? And they will be quick questions. One is the insurance company isn't paying any of this.
No, the insurance company came and did the repairs, and what's left now is not stuff that would be insurance claims.
And we can't recoup any of it from the contractor who screwed up.
It's how old? 10, 11 years? The roof is 25 years old.
Okay, but you were talking about something being slit and something, again, my brain is starting to fade, so. There's nothing, okay.
These issues now were not addressed as part of the renovation 12 years ago, 11 or 12 years ago.
And keep in mind, this building is on the historic register, so everything we do has to be stamped by an architect, has to go through the state historic.
One thing, just so everyone understands, the building, the renovation was 12 years, but the roof was
25 years.
25 years ago. So that's a misconception because the first thing I heard needed a roof was, well, the building's only about 10 years old. Yeah, so that is something that is not going to be well known when we start talking about this, but should be mentioned because it's a little bit of a difference.
And the roof was not done by what you would call someone who does commercial roofs.
So the real criticism that I received from the architectural firm that did the envelope study was that it was one of the worst roofs they've ever seen. And they cannot believe that actually happened.
Is it a slate roof or is it?
No, it's an architectural asphalt shingle.
Oh, okay.
And it's a 25-year asphalt shingle.
Okay.
And we have just made it to 25 years.
Okay.
And Paul, is this something you want to put on the warrant for the upcoming town meeting?
Yes, and that's what I wanted to discuss. Well, first, and it leads into the question about we need at least looks like we need at least another meeting to discuss these public hearing articles. And we need to potentially, if the people decide to do this, to schedule another hearing for the town hall ask. We do have a fifth Wednesday in October, although I'm hesitant to maybe put things off that far. If we want 2 meetings or 1, but first off, how would people feel about meeting next Wednesday at 5 p.m. to clean up these articles that we've already had hearings on? 5 p.m. next Wednesday. I can't go to 7 necessarily because there's Conservation Commission meets on the second Wednesday at 7. But if we went for 5 p.m., would that work?
That would be the 8th?
Yes, the 8th. And it gives enough time to public notice the meeting with Denise, town clerk.
And if we add this piece for the town hall on an article, do we have enough time to post that?
No, we don't. We don't have enough time. We could have a separate meeting, especially the 5th of September, not for that. Or I guess another question is the third Wednesday. If we went,
the 3rd Wednesday.
If we went for the 3rd Wednesday, Mike, I think you'd have enough time to publish it in the newspaper.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, I forget what we did for these. public
Just 1
hearings.
week.
Just 1 week?
Just one notice, that's all.
Yeah. The third Wednesday of October?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 week. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
That would be the 15th?
15th.
So how does that work for people?
That's fine.
Is that at the normal 7 o'clock?
It could be whatever time.
Okay. It's not necessarily the 5 o'clock time as well.
Yeah, it could be 5 or 7.
Either one is fine with me.
Fine with me too. So do you want to schedule the next meeting for third Wednesday at 7? And then we'll ask Michael to public for the hearing notice in the newspaper for the town hall warrant article.
Thank you.
So, right?
Okay, so can I just ask a procedural thing? So they put it on as a borrow, like you talked about. You guys have to vote for the 220,000 now, or are you just voting that, yes, we'll do it? So there's nothing there. There's no actual dollars that you guys are gonna spend for.
Well, what we're voting is to basically send the article to town meeting, so town meeting can vote on it.
I don't think the town meeting's gonna vote, or is town meeting gonna vote on CPC? That's what I'm asking. I agree with what you're saying.
Will there be an article that's gonna go in front of town meeting in November?
It says to borrow though, right? It's not gonna say.
So just like Dave goes, FinCom recommendation, they're gonna ask for CPC recommendation as well for that, right? Because then there's gonna be a borrowing piece.
If
that comes out for some of the funding aspects of that.
And the CPA Act requires that the committee, the CPC, recommends an article to town meeting. If CPC was to vote not to recommend one of these articles.
No, I understand that.
Die before it got to town meeting.
I understand what you guys are saying. I'm not sure. I'm trying to make sure that you guys need to vote on this now, because isn't it gonna be a borrow and then
It is.
pay for the borrow?
But Kenny's not gonna borrow money without having some certification or.
Okay, so it
of
is.
where the note's gonna be.
I just want to make sure, because you guys are adjusting your schedule and rushing through, and I just want to.
Yeah.
So this is necessary.
When they have to file they go to bond. He has to, the accountant or the finance director has to show certification of the town meeting vote as part of the documentation submitted to borrow. He has to certify that funds are available.
Like showing his bank account, sure, he pulls the loan.
Yeah.
Okay. So third Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Ready?
Can I have a motion to schedule a meeting, CPC meeting at that time?
I'll move.
Your
So hold a
second?
meeting on Wednesday, CPC meeting Wednesday, October 15th at 7 p.m.
Yeah, thank you. Seconded by Chris. Roll call vote. Chris. Chris, aye. Catherine.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Rick, aye. Mike, aye. So that's unanimous. So we'll schedule that, and and I guess I would take since it's already 9:24, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Yeah.
All right. Roll call vote.
Chris, I.
Oh, Abby? You're right.
Aye.
Paul. I mean, you're right. You're right. Catherine.
Aye.
Chris. Aye. Brian. Aye. Chris.
Aye.
Aye.
Mike. Aye.
Aye.
Eric. Aye. Thank you. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you